Well guys, it's time for me to be the bad guy. Today we are looking at a situation here on YouTube that has gotten surprisingly big that many people have asked me to take a look at, and I don't think I'm gonna say what people want to hear. Over the last week or so, a situation has arisen between the YouTuber The Manny Show and the YouTuber Nguyen. This all started after Nguyen received a copyright strike from The Manny Show for using his clips in a video where Nguyen is not the nicest guy to The Manny Show. A lot of people think that this copyright strike was done because The Manny Show did not like what the Nguyen guy was saying, so he did the classic 1-2 combo of being a dogshit YouTuber where you just strike any video that paints you in a light you're not too fond of, which is obviously a shitty thing to do. That's like the biggest taboo of being a content creator. When you start copyright striking anybody for any reason, you are permanently put into a category of YouTuber that you can never come out of. So, with that being said, I would like to preface all of this by saying that I am in no way, shape, or form on the side of The Manny Show whatsoever, okay? But, like I said, a lot of people asked me to check out the video that Nguyen made talking about his experience, and, well, there's a lot of stuff he says that hundreds of thousands of people are blindly agreeing with that I'm not a super big fan of. You guys know me, I like to keep it pretty objective on this channel, keyword pretty. I'm always going to address both sides of a situation. This is quite literally why I became a YouTuber in the first place, because when people are wrong at a mass scale, it's really hard to get everybody's attention to tell them they're wrong. Why do I feel the need to do that? I don't know. Probably something from my childhood, but that's not something we're here to discuss today. We're here to talk about copyright, so let's not waste any more time. Let's begin. Please subscribe. Okay, so from my understanding, this situation all started about a week ago when Nguyen released a video titled Why Everyone Hates The Manny Show, in which he talks about his short-form content and how it's not very good, which is a pretty fair statement. I watched through the video and it seems like most of his stuff is either Facebook humor TikTok skits or the laziest reactions a human can come up with. Nguyen pokes a lot of fun at the guy, and I guess it struck a nerve because a few days later that video received a copyright strike for a 13-second long clip that Nguyen included in his video, which led to Nguyen making a video titled The Manny Show Wants My Channel Deleted, talking about the copyright strike he received. A strike that he was pretty upset about, and understandably so. Not only for moral reasons, but because he believed legally he had done nothing wrong. Now, we're going to talk about that more later. That's the section where I think I might end up bumping heads with some people. But addressing the morality of this first, yeah, it's fucked up. Like I said earlier, when you're a content creator, you really can't get any lower than filing copyright strikes, especially false ones. It's breaking the cardinal rule of being a YouTuber. This is not to say that you can't own your content, but whipping out the copyright strike is just a dirty move. You can claim a video, you can block a video, you can remove a video, you can do all of these things without copyright striking another person, which is why copyright strikes are so frowned upon. You can basically achieve everything that a copyright strike achieves without sending a strike. So by sending a strike, you are basically saying, I want to jeopardize your channel. I want you gone. Now, is this justified in certain circumstances? Of course. But striking a person because they made a video saying they don't like your humor? Yeah, that's pretty lame. And it's even more lame if you are a content creator like The Manny Show. The Manny Show, similar to the commentary YouTuber that he striked, basically relies on other people's creations for his content. He makes some original skits, yes, but most of his videos are either brain-dead reactions, where he does the XQC method of watching something and then making a stupid face, or videos where he lip-syncs some other person's audio. That's majority of his content, which is not exactly the position you would imagine a person to be in when they start casting the copyright strike spell. I mean, it would be like me or any other commentary YouTuber copyright claiming a bunch of videos. You shouldn't try and sneak past copyright law or use weird copyright loopholes and then decide that nobody else gets to use those things if they're making videos you don't like. If you do shit like this, you are akin to a child who thinks that they get all the toys at the daycare, that nobody else gets to benefit from the things you are heavily benefiting from yourself. With all that being said, I think I've made my feelings clear on this Manny Show guy. Let's talk about this strike, and let's talk about this conversation about fair use that this whole situation is kind of reignited. Now, I want to start this section off by saying I don't really have anything against this Nguyen guy. Scrolling through his channel, it appears that he makes some questionable content content that I don't really agree with, but I didn't really look too deep into it, so I'm not going to form a strong opinion. I'm just going to keep it to this situation, okay? With that being said, I think it's safe to say when it comes to fair use and copyright law, he might be a little bit misinformed. Now, this is not a dig at the guy because I think most people, myself included, basically everyone on the planet is a little bit misinformed about copyright law because it is such an unprecedented area of the American legal system. At least when it comes to this sort of space. Legally speaking, social media is a pretty new thing still. We don't have 100 years of case law to tell us what's okay and what's not. We're getting there, but we're getting there. This is because very rarely do people actually end up taking copyright issues on social media to a courtroom. This has led to a lot of people getting pretty falsely confident in what they think fair use is and what they think they're allowed to do under current copyright laws. And after being asked to watch this video, there are a few things that Nguyen said that sort of rang alarm bells in my head. So this is really more of a video to kind of dispel some of the myths around fair use and really me just trying to help do my part to protect the YouTube community as a whole. I don't want to see anybody get striked into hell, okay? With that being said, let's talk about this strike. First of all, let's get this out of the way real quick. Do I think this was a legitimate strike? No, absolutely not. This was a false strike 100%. However, this is not because of the reason most people are talking about. A lot of people are saying, oh, well, it was only a 13-second clip. It was nothing. That doesn't really matter. Saying it's a 13-second clip is kind of disingenuous because if the whole clip is 13 seconds, you are using somebody else's entire video. That, in and of itself, is often a very hard thing to prove should fall under fair use. Using somebody else's entire piece of work, no matter how short it is, you're gonna have trouble saying that is fair use. This is coming from a guy who often reviews people's entire videos. Don't get me wrong, at no point in this video will I ever be excluding myself from this discussion. Basically, every criticism I make in this video applies to me as well, okay? With that being said, this being a 13-second long video really means nothing. That in and of itself does not make the strike any less legitimate. Normally, what this would come down to is why Nguyen decided to use this entire video. Did he need to? Did he need to show this entire 13-second long video of this guy sitting at a K-pop concert to make his point? If this went to court, Nguyen would have to prove that the answer to that question is yes. After that, he would need to prove the purpose of using this clip. These are just the guidelines of fair use. Now, in his video, he says his purposes are critique and comment. In his video, after playing this clip, he makes a few jokes about the Manny show, saying stuff like he looks like a Karen, he's probably a closeted K-pop fan, stuff like that. Now, those are comments and critiques, but what this would come down to is whether or not a judge thought you needed to play that entire video to make those points. Now, this seems like we're splitting hairs here and we're talking about like 5 or 6 seconds, but that's just the reality of what this kind of stuff comes down to. A lot of people on YouTube, and I mean a ton, think that as long as you are commentating or as long as you are critiquing something, you are free to do whatever you want with that content. And that's just not true. I will tell you right now, there is likely a non-insignificant amount of my videos that would not fall under fair use if I ever got taken to court. I don't think there's a lot of them because I try very hard to make sure what I'm showing and what I include in my videos is directly related to what I'm talking about. But my point is that the fact that you are commentating on something or critiquing something does not automatically mean whatever you're doing falls under fair use. There's this misconception that if you pause the video enough times or if you talk for a certain amount of time longer than the original video you're talking about, that it magically becomes fair use, and that is just not how it works. I feel like there's a bit of a disconnect when it comes to how people think about internet media and other kinds of media, and if we could mentally bridge that gap, there would be kind of an aha moment for most people when it comes to stuff like this. For example, let's say I went on Disney Plus and I screen recorded the entirety of Avengers Endgame, okay? I then fired up Audacity, I fired up my editing program, and I went through the entire movie, pausing every 30 seconds to give my thoughts. Do you think I would get a copyright claim? Do you think I would get striked? Abso-fucking-lutely. So why should it be any different if you do that to a YouTube video? The answer is because most YouTube channels aren't Marvel, and they either 1, don't care, or 2, they don't want to deal with the legal hassle of taking a person to court for copyright infringement. This is the reality of YouTube commentary. Most people just don't care. But just because you pause it so often, just because you say a certain amount of words, does not magically make it fair use. That doesn't mean it's not fair use in a lot of cases. There has been multiple times where YouTube has sent me an email saying they rejected a copyright copyright claim or a copyright strike because they believe my video falls under fair use. I don't have to appeal it. I don't have to do anything. YouTube just denies the claim from the get-go. I'm not saying none of my videos fall under fair use, but people tend to vastly overestimate just how much does. Same thing with a song. If I were to play Taylor Swift's latest album and pause every 30 seconds and say, you know what, I don't really like this, it's not gonna matter. I'm gonna get sent to copyright hell immediately. But for some reason, people think this magically changes when it's a YouTube video, or it's a TikTok, or it's this, or it's that, as long as it's based on the internet. It doesn't. The people who make these videos are still legal copyright holders. They have just as many rights as a big corporation like Marvel or a big name like Taylor Swift. And a lot of people seem to not respect that. So when Nguyen says stuff like this,
like if I just straight up re-uploaded Manny Show clips to my channel, I would understand why the video is being striked. I would get it because, oh, I'm just re-uploading his content. Understandable. But my content falls under fair use. Like if I just let the videos play and said and did nothing, and I just sat there like Jinx Reloaded or whatever it is, XQC on Twitch, it wouldn't be fair use. But the clips totaled out to be like 2 minutes worth of the video, and my commentary was 8. It's not even like it was majority of the video either. It was basically like a react, and then like it would switch to my commentary, basically, if you've never seen my channel before. I would play the clip for context for like 10 to 15 seconds, and then I would talk and give my opinions on the video or whatever, make some jokes, and then I would just yap for like 30 seconds to a minute about the video. Sometimes my reactions are shorter, but it still stands. It still changes the video in some way.
it's like, okay, yeah, that could be the case, but that's kind of a slippery slope. Just because you're playing a 15 or 20 second long clip and then you talk for 30 seconds or whatever, that does not automatically mean whatever you're doing falls under fair use. Like I said, there's this misconception that it matters how long you're showing videos for, or it matters how long you're talking for. It doesn't. What matters is whether or not the copyright content you included in your video was necessary to make the point you made. That's it. I'm not even going to get into the whole transformative debate because most people don't understand that either, and I don't feel like talking for another 3 or 4 minutes, but I will say this, I'll try to keep it short. Turning a funny YouTube video where a person makes some jokes into another funny YouTube video where a person makes some jokes, yeah, that's not exactly a 180. Whether or not something is transformative is defined by a lot more than whether or not you just re-uploaded the video by itself. A lot of people seem to think that as long as you add something, you've transformed it. Yeah, it's a lot more complex than that, but back to where all of this started, back to the question I was answering, I said I don't think this copyright strike is legitimate. Why? Well, first of all, I want to deal with the hypothetical. If the Manny Show actually owned what he was copyright striking, I think this would still be seen as a false strike. I think that Nguyen could argue that he needed to show what he showed to make the points he made. Even if they weren't like super important points, they were like hypothetical jokes, I think he could still get away with it. The fact that the video he was talking about is kind of hard to understand if you don't watch the entire 13 seconds helps him as well. You could easily argue that the viewer would need to see the entire video to understand Nguyen's criticism. So yeah, I think this claim would be bullshit if Manny owned this video, but guess what? He doesn't. This is something I'm kind of surprised I haven't seen anybody talk about, but if you haven't seen the clip I'm talking about, what started all of this was the Manny Show copywriting that 13-second long TikTok talking about K-pop, and what's happening in the video is he's covering his ears at some concert. I don't know what concert it is, but it's at a concert of a large artist, and that's all you need to know. Ladies and gentlemen, you do not own videos. You take it to concerts. The people performing at the concert, those are the owners. That is a derivative work of their original songs that they are the copyright holders to. So what Manny did here would likely be seen as copyright fraud. He not only claimed ownership of copyrighted material that is not his, he also filed a DMCA takedown request on content that is not legally his own. Manny, buddy, you fucked up. I don't know what was going through your mind when you decided to do this, but Nguyen included multiple videos of yours in his video. Why did you choose this one? It was the worst one you could have possibly picked. What could have possibly made you believe you own the rights to a video of a band's live performance? Yeah, that's pretty bold, man. I mean, I know we've been talking about people misunderstanding fair use laws, but you can't really blame anybody for that. These myths and these misunderstandings are so perpetuated on the internet, you can't really blame anybody for not knowing the the truth, especially when there's not really like a set in stone truth. But this, holy shit, yeah, that's a new level of stupidity, man. Like a level of stupidity where I hope for your sake this kind of dies down quietly. I did a little looking, and apparently you were at a Tomorrow X Together concert, whose record label is Big Hits Entertainment, who's also home to BTS. And you know what? I'm not too sure if a record label of that caliber would take too kindly to another person claiming their copyright. You might genuinely be fucked here, buddy. Good luck. Well, guys, this video turned out a bit longer than I really wanted it to be. I didn't mean to ramble for so long. I hope I didn't come across like a douchebag trying to be all lectury, but I'm just trying to look out for people. Getting a copyright strike fucking sucks, and I think a lot of people go into territory where it's really easy to get one because they're misinformed about what fair use actually is. Really, to no fault of their own. So as an obvious fan of the commentary genre here on YouTube, I'm just trying to look out for my boys, okay? And Gween, if you see this video, I hope you don't take anything I said personally. Like I said, most people on this website misunderstand fair use. I did too until a few months ago when I decided to really dive into it to try to familiarize myself with it. It's a really confusing system we have to abide by, but abide by it we must. To the Manny Show, if you see this, stop being a copyright striking loser, and maybe try and familiarize yourself with copyright law before you mess around and get hit by the 1-2 combo by Big Hit's legal team, okay? Might do you some good. If you enjoyed this video, please leave a like and walk on over to that subscribe button and touch it. It's free. It won't cost you anything. But for now, that's all I have for you today. Bye.